This is episode 51 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. Sorry we missed last week, guys. We had a little scheduling conflict. This week, we're going to talk about, well, we go off on a little tangent on alien life and the new K2-18B planet for about 10 minutes. And then we talk about if you're a triathlete trying to come into Hyrox in our new hybrid sport to hybrid series, as well as how stress affects recovery, and we give a little teaser on what's to come in the future episodes. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. How's it going today, JK?
I am well, thank you, Mr. Pericini. I'm stateside. First stateside podcast together, mate.
Well, I mean, when you were in Vegas, we did one together.
True. Well, I feel like I'm actually living here right now, so
That's good.
Yeah, so in Nashville. How are you, mate? Are you good?
I am good. I wanted to apologize to the listeners. We didn't get out an episode last week, but that's okay. We got maybe not a long one, but a big one for you today with lots of topics. I mean, we have so many topics right now that we probably fill all the way up till Worlds with everything we have, if not more.
Sure.
Plus, we got a lot of questions and some comments that we will address if we don't get to them today. But JK, yeah, you're stateside. You're working out at the Proven headquarters. Lots of fit people there working out with you every day. How do you stop yourself from just like demolishing everybody every day?
Well, I make sure I keep to my lane, and when you're with some CrossFitters like I am right now, I make sure I stick to my let's just say my Hyrox specific workouts, and make sure that someone like Ricky Garrard and Jay Crouch, they do their lifting all by themselves and I do my lifting all by myself, because theoretically my back squat right now is probably their 10 RM snatch.
JK's in there doing 1 rep max back squat, and they walk in and they're like, "Oh, good, you're just warming up. Can I join you?" No. But he froze. Okay.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
All right. So little roadmap for today, guys. We're going to touch on the setup between this podcast and some other ones. There was life found on a distant planet, and I'm going to surprise JK with that. It's not life found. We'll go over what it means. We're going to do part of a series. It's called a training adaptation series, where we're going to take one of the sports that does come over to Hyrox and hybrid fitness racing, and each week we're going to take a training plan from that sport, and we're going to show, or at least offer our opinion on how we would change that to get them from going to whatever sport they're doing into performing a Hyrox or other fitness race. That being said, today's going to be the training adaptation series number 1. We're going to take a triathlon training plan and say, okay, if this is your base, how do you get from here to racing your first Hyrox or performing well at Hyrox? In the future, we'll do other things such as maybe running or ultra running or CrossFit or weightlifting. But each week we're going to try to add one to this training series. We're going to talk about mental and physical health a little bit. I also found a study. It's chronic physiological stress impairs recovery of muscular function and somatic sensations over a 96-hour period. I'm going to demonstrate how we've said before that stress is stress. Well, there is a study that kind of relates to that. So you guys will hear us talk about that. And then we'll talk about mental health and how you, if you're a coach or if you're an athlete, it's good to know both sides of this, how you as a coach can help your athletes and coach better with mental health in mind. So we will go over all that, and we have some listener questions and comments that hopefully we have enough time to get to. We are a little bit limited today. Today, I do have a hard cutoff time. So it's not JK, it's me. All right. So to start with, just want a quick touch. Well, it looks like JK is getting resettled and organized here. I want to retouch on we have a separate show called Beyond the Grid. Beyond the Grid is going to be a live show that we talked about in our last episode, episode 50, where Bernice Kelly, or her name is now Bernice Linacker, JK's older sister, and we review news and highlights of sports from elite athletes in the hybrid fitness racing scene. Okay, so we were going to be going over that's the pundit show. That's going to be opinion. That's going to be just highlighting the athletes, the communities, the awesome work of the elite athletes, kind of like your news show and reviewing everything. We will still be like, hey, guess what? London Elite 15 doubles is this weekend, but on this show. But this show, like I said, is mostly going to be like our coaching and athlete podcast for athletes and coaches looking to improve, get better, or help with their own training. Um, all right. So before we get into the other stuff in the training adaptation series, JK, did you hear about this signs of life on a distant planet?
Signs of life. No, no, I haven't.
So I listen to a lot of
Enlighten
podcasts
me.
and everything, and I think over the last 2 weeks, like six of the podcasts that I've listened to, they've all mentioned it. And literally, there's one podcast called Everything Everywhere Daily that literally did a whole episode on it, right? So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go look into this more. It's not anything we're going to touch on a little bit. I just want to see, JK, what your reaction is. There's this world that's 111-ish light years away from Earth. It's 2.5 times larger than Earth. It's 8.6 masses of Earth. The average temperature is slightly less than a habitable zone of its star. So its year is 33 days. It's got a very short, it's got a very small star, or
Right.
like a dwarf star. It's been known about for years. Like they found it with the Hubble telescope, and it has a water-rich atmosphere and possibly oceans. But they detected this molecule in its atmosphere. And so the way that they detect these molecules is light shines from the star as the planet passes in front of it. It diffuses, creates a spectrum, and they're able to say, okay, well, this molecule is there. Well, really, they say like it's likely this molecule. It could be one of these as well.
Right.
So they found this molecule. It's DMS, dimethyl sulfide, which on Earth is mostly, and the only processes we know how to make dimethyl sulfide on Earth are through ocean life right here. So it's organic life that creates this molecule, mostly photoplankton. Uh, but DMS, dimethyl sulfide, has been found on dead comets passing by. So there are other geological ways to create it. We just don't know what they are, right?
Okay.
So if you see it on a planet, people get excited and they're like, "Ooh, life!" Right? Like
Right.
seeing zebras instead of horses, as
Yeah.
like the medical phrase is. Well, hearing zebras instead of hooves, whatever. You
Yeah.
know the
Yeah.
phrase. So anyway, like I said, the way they detect these things in the atmosphere is passes through the atmosphere, it gets diffused or dispersed. But it's really exciting. Like, oh, cool. Like there could be some kind of life 111 light years away. We'll never know about it. We'll never see it or get confirmation. It's like 5 generations away from us before anything like that could ever happen, let alone the technology to travel there. Uh, but you get all excited. It's called a Hycean planet, right?
Yeah.
They think. Um, but like the guy that came up with this idea of Hycean planets is also one of the guys that published the paper on like, oh, we found DMS in it, right? So it's other uh, contradictory statements to this is people are saying this guy's creating a narrative, but it seems like he's going off, stuff that he's found, which is great. Um, in a meta-analysis though of like from other scientists on all the different methods and published papers, they interpreted the data the same way, like the light diffusion, to see like, oh, what other molecules could this be? And when they did it, with the same data, their interpretation was there is no DMS, there is no CO2. Uh, there's lots of methane, so it's a different organic molecule, and there is water molecules. So it's one of the most, they think in this other paper, it's one of the most common planets in the universe that we know of. It's like a sub-Neptune or gas dwarf. So other people have come out and been like, well, it actually just looks like a smaller Neptune with methane and water vapor really close to its star. But,
Right. So,
hey,
so hang on. Let me just like ask a few simple questions because I got sidetracked with my own kind of like, okay, what
I
does
went
this even mean?
I went
Does
down
this
some
mean,
deep YouTube rabbit holes on
yeah,
this one.
okay. Does this mean there could potentially be like another like form of human, not humans, but aliens out there?
So most likely, anytime you talk about, oh, we found life on another planet, if life is common in the universe, it's most likely bacteria, photoplankton, things like that.
So it's not
Intelligent life,
actually.
so like there's these boundaries, right? Like that we don't know. Like so science will tell you, is it is it difficult to make life, or is life abundant? Like, does life sprout
Mm,
up anywhere? If that's the case, where's the gate, right? Is the gate at intelligent life? Like, is plant life, is mobile life? Like, we're like mobile, right? Instead of stationary, like plants and stuff. Like, where's the boundary?
yeah,
It's like, is it difficult to get to? Because obviously, we haven't found other intelligent life yet. So we don't think it's abundant. It could be. I mean, there's billions and billions and trillions of stars and solar systems, right? So uh,
yeah,
you just have to think like, okay, well, what is the line? Like, is it difficult
yeah,
just to get life started and it's going to become intelligent life no matter what? Like, oh, well, then, okay, when we find it, great sign. Is life abundant? And when we find it, is it hard to get intelligence?
right,
And what do we
right, right.
define as intelligence?
So that kind of interferes with my next question. My next question was, okay, if there's aliens out there, if there's some sort of uh, animal that is equivalent to a human being out there, I wonder how fast they run.
Are you wondering if you're the fastest in the universe?
Well, I'm just asking the question of, right, like if there's other things out there that could potentially
That's,
break
I mean,
break
that's a
the
great
Hyrox
goal.
records.
Right. That's a great goal. Okay. But right now, let's focus on being fastest on Earth, and then we'll look at fastest in the solar system,
Gotcha.
fastest
That's
in the
right.
solar system, maybe fastest in the galaxy before we
And
look at
then,
fastest in the universe.
yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah,
this
yeah.
star would be in our galaxy, but still.
There
Uh,
you go. There you
um,
go. Can you send me one, not all, but just one of those podcasts?
yeah.
I'll,
Well, I'll send you. There's a couple of them because some of them come out and they're like, "There's life! Oh my gosh!" When most likely it is like a photoplankton, like it's an
yeah.
ocean world. It's probably got some photoplankton or something like that, which would make this
Hmm.
DMS if that's possible.
Hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was really interesting and wanted to bring it up.
That's cool. I like
Yes,
it.
I'll send you. I'll send you a couple YouTube videos, or I'll just send you one YouTube video and one podcast. The
Sure.
podcast is only like 14 minutes long,
Yep.
um, and the YouTube video I'll send you is very pessimistic about it. Well, it's not pessimistic. He just says, "Here's what we actually know, backed by science. Here's what we've inferred,
Right.
guess wise, based on what we've seen." So,
Yeah.
very logical about it. All right, sorry. Okay, brought that up. Now, on to triathlon. If you are a triathlete and you're looking to get into hybrid fitness racing, specifically for right now, high rocks, say you're somebody who just went through a 16-week training program. And I say 16-week because that's what I found on the internet for this one to easily use. You went through a 16-week training program, you ran your first Olympic distance triathlon. All right. What we're going to ask is, JK, I'm going to read
Hmm.
to you the 14th week of this program so you can see like this athlete, because we're not going to do the last 2 weeks because they like obviously tapered and changed some things at the end, especially that 16th week. But what I want to do is I want you to tell me if this is a person's coming to you and says, I want to race a high rocks, and we'll do different levels, but we'll start with, I just want to finish or do a high rocks, or, you know, the best I can do at at this race. How would you change, or what would you have them doing leading from where they're at into their first 3 weeks and or their first race? And let's give you 8 weeks. They come to you 8 weeks before their race. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
All right. So the training plan, guys, I've coached triathlon, a couple people, actually, mostly just my parents, to Ironman triathlons. So I've done different training plans. This one, I just pulled off the internet because we were just looking for a quick one. Um, there are some, obviously, we already know there are some elite athletes who come from a triathlon background, so it lends very well into being a high rocks athlete, right?
Yeah.
Um, Specifically, this is an Olympic distance triathlete training plan. So, um, one thing, like one of the ladies that was the community was excited about this year getting into the Elite 15 was Tanya Strohschneider. She
Hmm.
was like top three in her country for the Olympic distance triathlon. Um, and I guess like just barely missed out on qualifying for the Olympics through it this last cycle. She probably will try again, and she came in and was very good almost right away at High Rocks. So the question,
Hmm.
JK, is I'm going to give you this week. How would you, knowing this person's base, lead them to a High Rocks? All right. Week 14, Monday, rest day. Uh, Tuesday, they do a swim base plus lactate, 1,500 yards of swimming. So they warm up with 200 meters of swimming, 200 yards of swimming, low aerobic intensity, 4 by 25 yard drills. They do 4 by 100 at moderate aerobic intensity. Uh, and the rest intervals on each of those. So the 4 by 25, the rest intervals 10 seconds, 4 by 100, rest interval 5 seconds, 5 by 100 at VO2 max intensity, rest 1 minute, 4 by 25 yard kicks, rest 15 seconds, and then a cool down of 200 at low aerobic intensity. So that is their Tuesday. It's all swimming, uh, and they swam a total of 1,500 yards. Wednesday, they bike. It's a tempo bike, 55 minutes long. It's 17 minutes of warm up, 16 minutes of cool down, and in the middle, you have 22 minutes of threshold intensity on the bike.
Yep.
Uh, Thursday is a tempo run. So 10-minute of warm up, 10-minute of cool down. In the middle, there's 12 minutes of threshold. Um, on Friday, it's back to swimming for a total of 1,500 yards uh, with sprints of the swimming. So they do some sprinting drills. I'm not going to read them all off. Sprinting drills for a total of 1,500 yards of swimming. On Saturday, they do an hour and 45-minute bike, 10-minute warm up, 10-minute cool down, and 1 hour and 25 minutes of moderate aerobic intensity. So you're probably thinking, oh, zone two, maybe they get up into zone three, not
Yep.
threshold. And Sunday, they do a long run of 65 minutes.
Sure. And that is their week 14 out of 16.
That's week 14 out of 16 of a
Yep.
triathlon training plan. So after this week, they did something similar the following week. Well, actually, they did a little bit more. Their bike was 2 hours. And so they did add a little bit more actually the following week. And then they tapered into their race day on week 16. Um, but they just completed their race. They have 8 weeks now. This person um, obviously has a great base. Where do you go from here with this athlete to get them ready for their first high rocks?
Yeah. I think the first component that you need to look at is the skills of the stations for high rocks. That's the first thing, and treat them as skills, not necessarily as fitness components. Yeah, there's um, there's relevance to say that you've got to be fit for like the stations, but treat them as skills beforehand. Even implementing the machines as skills, right? Not just for cardiovascular benefits. So I think that's the first component, let's just call it, that I would address. It's okay, let's try to create adaptation by getting them used to the skill of every station of high rocks. 8 weeks, you said, Anthony. 8 weeks for someone who, let's just say, hasn't, and I'm just guessing, right? Let's just use it as an example. If they haven't touched a ski or a row, or barely, 8 weeks is not a lot of time. So we need to make sure we are actually touching such stations straight away. That's the first thing. The second thing is making sure that they are starting some form of strength progression. And I'm not saying it has to be like pure strength, but it's just some sort of strength endurance, endurance under load, so that they can start feeling what, let's just say, load and strength training is compared to just the let's just say the three modalities of triathlon training, right? Start letting them understand how it feels to push, sorry, yeah, like press, push, row, deadlift, squat, etc., etc., at a moderate weight. And then to finish it off, right? And sorry, I'm not going very specific here, but to finish it off, obviously they do have a really good base, aerobic base. Um, the thing is, though, that never that never stops, or you never can get to a point where your aerobic base is too high. So the third component in my eyes is just continuing to create a bigger and wider, as you say, Anthony, foundational base, and that's through your aerobic multimodality, or even like running, like easy running and zone two running, but then also implementing like threshold training as well. Even a little bit, and I'm just using your example of the week 14 you just said, Anthony, even to the point where we're pushing a little bit more volume more threshold volume per week. But that's pretty much my first initial thoughts. How about yourself?
Yeah, very similar. This person, they know how to swim, bike, and run. We know that, and we know that they know how to run well pre-fatigued from the swim and the bike. So they've done
Mm,
brick workouts. They have uh, done the triathlon. So like this person has that feeling of running with like just the heaviest legs. One of the things I like to do, especially with someone like this, is we look at them and we say, okay, you are proficient at the bike, you are proficient at swimming, you can get your heart rate, you can get your body into those like that aerobic zone or higher. Like you can do this. So
yeah,
one of the things I like to do is use something they're familiar with, like the bike, and pair it with a skill because they absolutely need to touch. I need to know, do they have the mobility to do wall balls? Can they
yeah,
touch their knee to the ground for lunges? Right? Are the weights on the farmer carry or the lunges or the sleds too heavy for them? Like, is that something we need to
sure.
focus on? But one of the things I like to do is I would take them and say, okay, here's this bike. We'll give them an assault bike or something, or a Concept 2 bike or whatever kind of watt bike, whatever it is, and say, okay, I'm going to make a workout for you where you have to maintain a certain pace on this bike. And then every once in a while, I want you to get off and do like some unweighted jumping lunges and wall balls. I want
Yeah,
you like it's gonna blast your legs, but I want you to do this like two skill movements back on the bike because what's most likely gonna happen, they're gonna be fatigued doing these skill movements, which is good, but they need practice at the actual movement. and in kind of a um, low pressure situation, right? Like just practice these movements. I'm not putting weight on your lunges. We could even use a lighter wall ball. I just want you to be able to do the movement patterns, but with something familiar like the bike where you can actually feel like you're getting a good workout. And then afterwards, we'll work on a little bit of strength stuff. Something probably light sleds, like let them feel the sleds are, build them up to it, or just assess kind of where they're at. But assuming this person needs a little bit of strength work and mobility work. One of the biggest things I find
Mm.
with people, triathlon or runners coming in, is actually the ability to get into position for a squat or the ability to like get in position on the lunges is not necessarily great to start with.
Mm.
So you usually have to work a little bit on those positions. And then you were absolutely right with the machines. Just probably start off on the machines. These guys, women, they can probably create a lot of power. They're used to a bike as a machine. They probably can create a lot of power. So, uh, first thing I would see like, hey, I just want you to show me how you would use this rower. Show me how you would use this ski erg. And then make little adjustments that still fit their body, but not like try to change them to fit my mold of how I think they should do
Yeah.
it. I want to see how they would do it because they're going to try at first to use what feels most natural to them, which means when they get tired, that's probably going to be the form they revert back to. But
Mm.
we want to strengthen just kind of their ability to use the machines, right?
Yeah.
Um, they know how to create power. Their bike, they swim. Like uh, usually, swimmers actually do make really good on the ski erg. They just have that power from their lats.
Yeah.
So I definitely think we would start somewhere around there, and it would actually be replacing some of these like longer bikes and stuff with more like back and forth in the machines with some runs intermixed. We would definitely put them on more running to start with, just because they do run, they know how to run, but I want them to feel the running a little bit more often, a little bit more impact load, um, and still be able to move with this. But you are absolutely right. What can they do? They have a great aerobic base. I don't want to get rid of that. I want to continue that. I'll tell them
Mm.
bike as much as you want outside of what we do together, low aerobic biking, and then let's keep this other stuff going in terms of building your skills for the actual event.
Yep. Yep. I like it. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much the total opposite to what we said about if a CrossFitter is coming into um High Rocks, right?
Yeah.
Not, sorry, I shouldn't say total opposite. It always depends, right? It always depends on the actual individual. But yeah, if a CrossFitter's coming in, we're trying to get them to work on their aerobic capacity in general, and then now it's triathletes working on the skills more so in the stations.
And that's exactly right. And I think that one of the things we show here is the triathletes have, assuming this person has been doing triathlon a long time, this training plan was just the last thing they did. They have the aerobic base. They have like that
Yeah,
is such a great foundation to start from that like you just have to think about what takes longer, getting strong enough to do what the test is, which High Rocks, think of it as like the test, right? Um, is it harder to get strong enough to do the stuff, or is it harder to get that base to be able to go faster?
yeah,
I think it takes
exactly.
longer to build your aerobic base to the level it needs to be at to actually be competitive.
Yeah,
Um, but if you come from like a strength background or CrossFit, you're going to have an easier time with the station. So it's basically just how much aerobic base can you build differently from the triathletes who have the aerobic base and are trying to build the strength, right?
yeah,
Um, the CrossFitters, the weightlifters, they have this excess strength rather than what the test of High Rocks has required over the years.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So Cool. Do you have anything else
Yeah.
to add about somebody coming from triathlon going to their first high rocks?
No, just as you said at the start, I apologize. The lady's name who has uh, punched her ticket into the Elite 15, who has the triathlon background. I think
She
it's
didn't,
great.
she didn't punch her ticket. She kind of missed out, but the
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
the
the
one that runs in bikes, the
yes.
two-time world champion, Melanie Maurer, she did.
That's
She
who I'm
punched her
talking.
ticket.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, who knows in years to come if we will see more of the triathlon or run, bike, swim kind of athletes coming into the sport, right? Because you know we have seen so many CrossFitters coming into high rocks, but I'm going to be totally honest here. No one has cracked into the elite system yet from the CrossFit background. Sorry, coming from the elite CrossFit background. So yeah, it'll just be fascinating to see what ends up happening in the next few years in Hyrox because you can tell that CrossFitters are coming in, triathletes are coming in, but apart from Melanie, apart from Melanie, no one else has really cracked it in the elite circles in Hyrox.
I mean, Lauren, Bo, and Michaela Norman punching air right now for you. You saying no CrossFitters from the elite side. They were all like not the individual games athletes, but teams and uh,
Yeah,
regional semifinal level. So,
yeah.
and yeah, Lauren was what semifinal and regionals a few times. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's interesting to see. It just takes time. It really does take time. That aerobic base for those coming from a strength background is harder to build than that the strength needed to complete the event coming with a giant aerobic base because the strength movements that we do have in high rocks still require some aerobic base because it's repetitive and it like will tax your systems in a way that require you to what breathe heavier. Like, could you imagine
Mm.
being extremely strong? You can move the sled, but are you going to move it fast or are you going to be out of breath? Right? Like a strong man coming in to move that sled is going to do really well, but he's going to be out of breath
But
afterwards. Right?
yeah,
Like it's gonna
absolutely.
wreck him. So yeah, definitely on that end. So moving on to the next thing I want to talk about, mental and physical health. How do they coincide? When you think about physical health, JK, what do you think about when you think about physical health from a coaching standpoint?
If you coaching standpoint, and also if you're intuitive as an athlete, it's if you're not injured. That's the first thing. If you can move and you can move with no pain in all biomechanical planes of motion and modalities, then to me, that's physically healthy. Um, I don't even kind of think of it from a standpoint of how fast or how intense you can move. It's just, can you move in the first place? Can you squat? Can you hinge correctly? Can you push, press, etc.? Can you run well without, your shins hurting and etc. etc. That's what to me what physically healthy is.
Yeah. So you're very similar there. Physical health, like health is relative, right? So everybody else
Mm.
has their different definition of healthy. Um, for the general population, a lot of what the athletes do is probably not healthy. They go past the
Mhm.
point of healthy, right? And you have to, it's almost obsessive. But for the general population, physical health is just movement and staying healthy and uninjured is extremely important. And we'll get into this a little bit
Sure.
later, but I'm just going to throw this nugget in here is we'll get into this in a future episode. But one of the reasons we do threshold is because it's a little bit less intense, right? You don't have to have like the intensity of running and the intensity and everything's easy. And one of the reasons is because intensity breeds injury, right? You don't get most of the time you don't get injured just doing an easy long run. It's when you go push yourself or you try to sprint really hard and you pull a hamstring or something, right? Or you're trying to go pretty quick, hurt your wrist, doing a clean that's extremely explosive, highly intense, right? Uh, so I had a question like, why don't we do VO2 max stuff as often? Well, that's kind of why is like we stick with our strides, and most of the time, like when you talk about VO2 max, it is genetically limited. You can get a lot of your potential VO2 max from like a 6 to 8 week cycle, and then all of a sudden it's going to plateau. So we do this like initial cycle, or you can build it up over time, and we progressively get better at it, and we keep the strides in there for maintenance. So when we talk about health, healthy is staying engaged and uninjured and having a good quality of life for that person, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now I want to move on to like the mental health side of it, because that's going to lead into this study that I found. So, when you think about the mental health of an athlete or somebody looking to complete or finish a high rocks, what do you think about, JK?
It's so hard to start because the first thing I'll say is it's dependent on the individual, right? But I can only use myself as an example here, Anthony, is the mental health aspect is predominantly about making sure you are um, enjoyment of the enjoyment full stop period. Now, enjoyment and being positive mentally, right? Now, to me, I'll just use myself as an example. Like what that means to me is knowing that I'm ticking the box, doing everything in my power to be the best Hyrox athlete in the world right now. But for the first Hyrox athlete, the athlete who is starting out their first Hyrox this weekend in London, as an example, it's just getting them to mentally understand that finishing and being a part of it is the mental positivity, right? So where I'm going here is like that mental positivity or aspect is so different for everyone. It's a tough one because mental health is such a and rightly so, it's such a hot subject right now, Anthony, that um you know each individual needs to make sure that they look after themselves, obviously physically, as you said, but mentally.
Yeah.
I know that if I mentally am not, I don't know, like in it, or I'm not mentally, I'm having one of those mental kind of cloudy days. It doesn't matter how physically ready I can be. If I'm not mentally in it or ready to go, there's no point. So I personally think that you really got to start with making sure that you as an individual understand what your why is and understand that we should be enjoying the process, enjoying the purpose of our training, um, and then let everything flow from there.
Yeah. Um, Absolutely. It should find enjoyment, because this is what I'm going to lead into is that can I'll just ask you the question. Can your mental health affect your physical health and your training um, on a daily basis, right?
100%. Absolutely.
So I'm gonna get into this, but we need to understand as coaches and coaches that coach other athletes and everything, the athletes are not coming to you in a vacuum, right? They have these external factors and these external stressors, whether that's financial, time, family, work, all these different stressors that they're coming to you with, and you're placing additional stress on them of training. Okay. So you have to mitigate the training that you can, but this is why like the athletes need to be super open with you, and you have to allow them to be open with you to talk to you about, hey, I have these factors in my life. Can you work with me in this way or this way? And to adjust training and to help them the best they can. And it's very important, again, on the athlete side to voice all these things and tell your coach this stuff, because they can only do and base off of what you're giving them. right?
Mm.
But all these stresses, we've talked about this before, stress is stress. All the stresses go into a single bucket. You don't have separate stresses for life, financial, time, like it, everything, and it impacts recovery. So I found a study that shows this. Your stress, your life stress, can impact how you recover in your workouts, from your workouts over
Yeah.
days, right? So I'm going to read you this study. It's chronic psychological stress impairs recovery of muscular function and somatic sensations over a 96-hour period. So we're going to go down to this. I'm just going to summarize the study I found here. They used 31 undergraduate students. So these are college age students, age 18 to 22. Um, and so, like, what stresses do they have, right? Midterms coming up. Oh no! But you can't uh, downplay the stress in somebody's life, right? Like, stress is stress to them, and no matter what that level of stress is to different people, it's the stress on their life is how impactful it is to them and how it can affect their training. So these students, these 31 undergraduate students, completed perceived stress scale and undergraduate stress questionnaire, and a measure. It was a measure of life event stress. So
Mhm.
they took these 31 people, they had them do the scale and this questionnaire to determine like what level they were at in terms of life stress to that person. Uh, and then later on, they performed strenuous exercise. So they did a resistance training exercise, like almost to exhaustion for a lot of these guys or women, men and women. They did a 10 rep max leg press test. And then
Yep.
after the test, they had to do 6 sets of 80 to 100% of the 10 rep max. So
Right.
that's pretty impressive. Like, you're talking, maybe 70 leg presses at almost 100% of what you were able to do. Like, that's extremely damaging, right? Um, so the study measured maximal isometric force, perceived energy, fatigue, uh, and recovery data. They were analyzed with hierarchical linear modeling, so on the growth curve analysis. So basically, what they did is they measured these how well they're recovering immediately after, and then every 24 hours afterwards. Um, the the linear and the squared models showed of the maximal isometric force showed a positive relationship statistically, as well as perceived energy, fatigue, and soreness. And it showed it that everything was aligned. And I'm going to show the graphs here. So I'm going to pull this up so you can see how well it correlates, because this is just, it's crazy how well it correlates here. Uh, there you go. So if you guys are on the YouTube version, you'll be able to see this graph. If not, I'm going to verbally explain it to you. But basically, as you can see, they performed the test. This was pre-test on the left-hand side here of maximal isometric force that they could produce, and then this is how many hours after the test was performed that it was done. This lower graph is the mean perceived stress. So if they had a mean perceived stress of 9, 14, and 19, those were low, medium, and high levels. Okay. Additionally, this was the undergraduate study questionnaire, stress questionnaire. 17, 25, and 32 were the average scores, and then low, medium, and high for that. If you're looking at this, the scale, they stretched it to make the timeline look better. Otherwise, it would just be a vertical line. But basically, they have their initial reading, they do the test, and that reading drops them. So the amount of force they're able to produce immediately afterwards is dropped, right? When you're right away, when you're done with a right away when you're done working out with a resistance workout, you're not gonna be able to do it again, right? So it
Right.
immediately drops. But you can see the people with less stress actually performed better to start with,
Yeah.
almost on both, right? And then they all get really tired. And then as they're recovering over the next 4 days, 3 days, 4 days, look at the recovery graph here. It's absolutely spread out, just massive. The people who have less stress get above where they started in terms of all like the recovery and the
Yeah.
maximal isometric force. And that means like holding something, isometric force, you're like pressing against something. So they get their super compensation and they are able to recover and improve. The people with moderate stress get back to the level they started at. The people with high stress never get back to their starting level because they experience the stress and then the other stressors in their life keep them suppressed.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and this happens in every situation. These graphs are the perceived physical fatigue. So this is like rating how fatigued you are. Same exact thing. And on every single line of these, it's showing that the more stress or perceived stress you have impacts your recovery.
Mm.
So,
Like it like that all makes sense. Like um in my eyes, simplistic life, like when I'm leading into a race, Anthony, I just try to simplify everything. And I am very lucky that I have my fiance Georgie who understands that, and we don't have kids yet, and it's just me and her. And because she understands it, she knows that things such as the stress of knowing where the grocery store is when we're traveling is actually like a high stress for me when I'm racing. So walking to and from the venue, all these little things just add up and up and up, right? So stress less by simplifying life, and it's a domino effect, isn't it? Like, if you're an example is if you're 5% more stressed today than you were yesterday, and then you're another 5% tomorrow, it just is just going to add up and up and up rather than trying to stay at I don't know, like a normal stress level if that's even a thing. But yeah, we've spoken about this a lot, haven't we? Like stress is just stress, as you
yep.
say. It goes all into one bucket. Our body or our being doesn't know if it's from life or from work or from our physical training. It's just stress.
Yep. Exactly. So, guys, what I'm just trying to say here is it's okay if your training stress is too impactful because your life stresses are just higher right now.
Mm,
You can reduce your training stress by, you know, don't put so much pressure on yourself to have to perform or to have to um, get everything in at some certain intensity. Sometimes the best thing, like we've talked about on here, is just go light and do it. It's better just to like move through and complete it because some movement's better than no movement. At least you'll improve and be consistent, and it could help alleviate some of the stresses if you're just getting that movement in, if it's a mental deload.
mm,
Everybody in their life has different life stresses. So the more you can manage those, the better your performance could be because your
could be
recovery improves.
for sure. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
we have questions and stuff, but I know like I gotta actually dip out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this question to you as a teaser for our next episode. Well, I'll do this first and then we'll do the wrap up here. JK, I just want you thinking about this for a week, okay? Uh,
Oh, okay. Here we go. Some homework, eh?
I received this question. I might have a question for your podcast. How do you know how fast you can start in a high rocks race? And how do you determine your race strategy? Everyone has different strategy that suits them, but how do you discover what works best for you? For example, Lauren tends to start fast. I would argue that, while Bo has a very strong finish. JK mentioned a while ago in a podcast that since he started working with you, he races differently and his race results have improved. How do you determine your race strategy? I know having a solid base is important too, and I'm working on that through training, and it's been paying off because so far I've set a PR in every race.
Interesting. I wish I could answer it now.
Well, I'll read it to you again probably next week. I'm going to leave this one on our
It's a good one.
questions and comments. We have, guys, we have like 10 questions and comments from emails and things just like over the past couple weeks, and we will try to get to every single one of them. And we might just do a whole episode on just those
I'm
coming up
just, yeah.
because there's a lot of really good ones in there. Um, but we are going to keep doing this training series about coming from another sport into this one because that's been on the list of things to do for a while. And if you guys want to listen to our news and reviews, go head over to Beyond the Grid podcast. That's on YouTube. We do a live show in the US, it's every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern time. And in Australia, that is 8 a.m. Australian Eastern time on
Eastern time.
Thursday.
Yeah.
And that'll be consistent. You guys can count on that. You can tune in live or watch it afterwards. If you tune in live, you're more than welcome to submit comments and questions, and we will answer them live on air. That is me and Bernice. Sometimes JK will join. We're trying to make it segments like an actual sports show. So maybe in the future, we have some ideas from some segments coming up, but maybe in the future we get some more listeners and watchers. We'll have anybody who can beat JK in a head-to-head race live.
I'm ready for.
Maybe we'll give some
I'm.
prizes.
By the way, I'm. You've had two live shows now. I've watched them both. I've been on live myself. I'm ready. I'm ready, Anthony. I'm ready for a live workout. Actually, we could do it live. Yeah. To see if anyone can beat me. I'm
Yeah,
ready for it.
that'd be fantastic. We'll line them up and we'll be harsh judges too. So we'll have to keep
Please
an
do.
ear thing in their ear. Maybe we'll figure a way to set that up so people can call in and or text in and be like, I want to be part of it.
Yeah.
But watch that show, guys. That'd be great. I just want to say one more thing. There is the last Elite 15 doubles qualification this weekend. We do have some athletes racing. I just want to say huge good luck to Kate and Zara, as well as to Jade and Yana, and Sean Noble and Ollie Fricker. Good luck to all the athletes. Hopefully they stay safe, but really hoping and pulling for those guys. I know that it would be, for some of those guys, it would just be a real boost, especially after like the LCQ. So I really hope that they perform well, and I know they can. Kate and Zara are the reigning pro doubles women's world champions, so pretty confident they're going to do well. Especially, it's like a home race for them. But I'm excited to watch it nonetheless. There's some
Yeah.
good teams there.
It'll be great. It'll be great.
Yep.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yep.
Please ask any more questions, guys. We're always here, or on Instagram, jk.jameskelly. And Anthony?
Yeah. And you can find me at the Hybrid Engine or at a Wild Parasini on Instagram, or you could go to our website, thehybridengine.com, and you can find contact information and everything on there. And if you're looking for training from either of us, you can message us or just, best way is just get in contact. I always think you should absolutely get in contact with a coach before you sign up for something, just to talk to them and make sure that it aligns.
For sure. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, JK.
Thanks, Anthony.
Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Thank you for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to get in contact with James Kelly to seek out some coaching or for general questions and inquiries, please go to Instagram and find him at jk.jameskelly. Or you can find him and Georgie Vesley on YouTube at James Kelly and Georgie Vesley. If you'd like to contact Anthony or seek out programming or coaching questions from the Hybrid Engine, please go to Instagram at the Hybrid Engine or at a Wild Parasini. Thank you again. Have a great day.